Hello everyone and welcome to another Craftin Desert Divas new release highlight, this time featuring the Snowflake Scribble die. Now when you first receive this die set, it is going to come exactly like this. You do not need to do anything to it. You can take it right out of the package and use it as is. Here's a closer look at that die and the stitching detail that it has around the outside of it. Now this is a wafer thin die and can be used in any die cutting machine that accepts wafer thin dies. I'm going to be using my Big Kick today. I'll be using the sandwich that I always use for the wafer thin dies. That means I'll go ahead and put down my multi-purpose platform with both tabs down. Next will come a cutting plate, then a piece of heavyweight white cardstock. Then I'll go ahead and place down my die. I want to make sure that I have those cutting edges facing the cardstock so they'll lay right on top of that. Then I'll place down my final cutting plate and run that through my die cutting machine. Now whenever this comes out, you're not only going to have that Scribble snowflake die cut, but you also have that great stitching detail around the outside. Now here's a closer look at the die itself. You can see it does have that stitching detail on it, and I want to show you a close-up of what you get whenever you run this through your machine. So here's the outside portion of the die. You can see it's got that Craftin Desert Divas signature stitching that kind of intertwines with each other. That's going to match all of your other Craftin Desert Divas dies that have the stitching detail on it. So you can combine this with any other die set you might have. There you can see that Scribble snowflake fits perfectly inside of that for some great die cut inlay techniques. So the great thing about this die set is you can use it as the die cut inlay, or you can just use the outer portion of it as a frame. Here's a look at the actual measurements of the die. The outside cutting and stitching detail measures 3 inches by 3 inches. Those are approximates. Some areas are a little smaller than others. And then that inside circle is actually 2 inches by 2 inches. So that's going to be your frame opening. And again, that is approximate. Here's a closer look at all of the pieces you get whenever you run this through your die cutting machine. So now that I've shown you the actual die itself, let's go ahead and make a card with it. Here are all the supplies that I'll be using on my card for today, so you can reference back here if you have any questions about products used. So I first cut a piece of white heavyweight cardstock with the Crazy Stitched Frames die. The largest rectangle in that die set is what I used. Now you can see the stitching detail matches that Scribble snowflake die. So again, I'm going to mix and match here with all of my different Craftin Desert Divas dies on this card. I'll be doing some ink blending on this piece of white cardstock. I've chosen worn lipstick and cracked pistachios in my distress inks. I just want to blend this onto my cardstock. I'm using my mini ink blending tools. Now this is where you can get creative. You can choose any color combination you might want. You can use one color. You can use as many colors as you want. You can also switch these out for the distress oxides. That's just going to give you a nice bolder look than what I'm getting with this soft ink blending here. And the distress oxides are available in the Craftin Desert Divas shop. You can find that link down in the description box below. So I am doing some ink blending here, just very softly. I'm building up color here, which is what I like to do. I start out with a lighter hand and then I work my way up. Now whenever I'm doing distress ink blending and I'm layering upon layering colors, I like to go ahead and pull out a piece of scrap cardstock that I use to hold everything down. Sometimes the oils from my fingers, especially if I've put on lotion that day, which is most days, it can kind of move the distress ink around on me. It can leave fingerprints, so I just like to be extra careful and have that in place to hold everything down while I'm working. Now I'm just go ahead and using those 2 different colors of ink and building up color here. Whenever I'm choosing my colors, I like to go ahead and make sure, especially if I'm blending into one another like I am here, that they're going to blend nicely. So here I've got kind of a greenish blue and a pink, so when they blend together, they make like a gray purple color, which is really gorgeous. And I'm going to play on that a little bit later on in my card design. So now I'm going to be using that Snowflake Scribble die. I went ahead and placed it right in the top center of that die cut, and I'll run this through my die cutting machine. Now this is going to come out in place because I've used heavy white cardstock, and this is kind of a detailed die. So I'll go ahead and pop this out very carefully. I want to try and keep as many pieces in place as I can because I'll be doing die cut inlay later on, and whenever I have the pieces in place, I don't have to go back and figure out where they need to go later on. I can just pick them out one by one. Now here I'm using my quick sticks tool to kind of help get this out. This is going to allow me to just poke out the pieces that I want to and keep all of the other ones in place. This tool is also available in the Craftin Desert Divas Shop. I'm placing all of my pieces into this little bowl that I'll set off to the side. That's just going to allow me to keep all of the pieces contained and not fly all over my desk. Now behind this, I'm going to need to add some adhesive. So I've got another piece of scrap white cardstock here. I'm going to completely cover this with some adhesive. This is score tape. I'm using the 1/4 inch here. If you have 1/2 inch, that would be even better. If you have the score tape sheets, that's going to really be awesome because you don't need to place so much of this down. All of those are also available in the Craftin Desert Divas Shop. Again, that link is going to be in the description box down below. So I went ahead and covered this entire piece of cardstock with some adhesive. Then I'll go ahead and remove the backing paper off all of that adhesive. Again, if you have those score tape sheets, that's going to be a real time saver here. I didn't have any on hand. If you don't have any adhesive like this at all, any paper adhesive, you can use liquid adhesive as well. You just need to apply some to each individual die cut that you're going to be inlaying, which is pretty simple and easy to do. It just can get a little bit messy. So once I've got all of that backing paper removed, I'm going to go ahead and place that down and lay over that die cut piece right on top of it. Now I've got adhesive all the way behind that, so then I can just start inlaying all of my other pieces. I die cut that Snowflake Scribble from some white cardstock as well. I went ahead and grabbed out that actual Scribble circle, and I'll just go ahead and inlay that right into the opening that I created. Again, I'm using that tool. It's got kind of a pick end on it that I can use to press everything right in place, especially in those teeny tiny little crevices. So once I have that all down, I'm going to very carefully, without kind of maneuvering it at all, I just want to press straight down so nothing gets manipulated at this point, because then nothing's going to fit right. So you do need to be a little bit careful with that first die cut that you put down. Now I'm going to grab that colorful die cut that I cut out, and I'm going to inlay all of those center pieces. This is going to allow it just to have the Scribble snowflake with the white cardstock. Now here I am just popping out all of those little pieces one by one and inlaying them into those die cut openings. Now I first started out doing this one by one, popping them out and then placing them down with my quick sticks tool. Here in just a moment, I'm going to show you a quicker way I actually found to do this, which really was a time saver. But I'm just grabbing those out one by one, poking them out, picking them up, and placing them down. This is why I wanted everything to stay in place whenever I did my die cutting, because then I can just line up that snowflake scribble that I have, pop out the piece that I know is next, and then go right over to the one on my card and inlay that. I don't need to go and figure out which piece goes where. It just kind of falls into place. Now here's where I got a little bit smarter. I went ahead and popped one more out and placed it down. But then what I found was actually, if you just take your die cut, overlay it right on top of the one before, or the one that's actually on the card base, you can just press through each one of those little openings and it will fall right into place. So again, I just placed that right over the top of the white die cut. Then I just use my quick sticks tool, the little end of it, to kind of poke through each one of those openings, and it goes right into place. You don't need to pick each individual piece up. It just kind of pokes right through and fits in like a puzzle piece. You can see how quick those last few pieces went. And there I've got a perfectly flat die cut inlay snowflake scribble ready to go on my card back. Now the rest of this card was very simple to put together. I used the sending die to go ahead and cut the back from some vellum and the actual sending word from white cardstock. I cut a flag banner and used the Wishful Thoughts birthday wishes right on that flag banner. I just used an acrylic block to kind of manipulate that stamp so it fit the wavy flag banner in the flag banner die set. I stamped that in gray dye ink, and I'm going to go ahead and play off of that as well. That kind of matches the gray color I got when I did that ink blending. And I'll also add some more gray here in just a moment. So that sending word die, I used some liquid glue to attach to the flag banner that I had popped up with some dimensional adhesive. I'm going to finish this card off with some silver lining Nouveau drops. Now this is going to really pull in all those gray colors together. So I got the purplish gray whenever I did my ink blending. I went ahead and added that sentiment, and then I'll go ahead and add in those silver lining Nouveau drops as well. Now on the Snowflake Scribble die, there are a few places where it kind of pokes out in little circles. I'm going to fill those in with some of those Nouveau drops as well, just to kind of tie in the whole card together. Now once those were on, I did forget to add this to a card base before I put on the Nouveau drops, and I didn't want to wait for those to dry. So I added a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back of that panel and then placed it down onto an A2 white top folding card base to completely finish off this die cut inlay card with the brand new Snowflake Scribble die. And here are a few close-ups of the finished card to show you just how easy it is to get this beautiful die cut inlay technique on your cards with the brand new Snowflake Scribble die. Now the rest of the design team has also been very busy with this brand new die. Here are a look at a few of their projects to help get you inspired. Allie made this gorgeous shaker card with the brand new Winter Fairy stamp set and the Snowflake Scribble die, where she used the Snowflake Scribble as a frame for her shaker, which is just gorgeous. EK used it as a frame for the Yeti for Coffee sentiment that is included with the Yeti Fun stamp set. This is so fun and cute. Now Nancy used the Snowflake Scribble die on her planner pages along with the brand new Winter Fairy stamp set to create these gorgeous little frames for the images. The new Snowflake Scribble die will be available in the Craftin Desert Divas Shop on November 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That link will be in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.